Welcome to industrial timber, where raw horsepower, frozen terrain, mining giants, recovery crews, and heavy steel collide in the toughest work sites on Earth. Out here, machines are not treated gently. We start in the middle of a scene that looks like it belongs in a survival documentary. Two bulldozers, one overturned komatsu, and a blizzard powerful enough to erase visibility almost completely. The wind is screaming, the ground is coated in ice, and every movement has to be controlled with absolute precision. But even in those conditions, the operators stay calm. They coordinate the pull, manage the angles, and bring the machine back from a situation that could have gone wrong at any second. That is not just equipment doing work. That is experience, discipline, and raw field instinct cutting through the storm. Then comes a loading moment where one small mistake nearly becomes a major disaster. A heavy excavator climbs onto a ramp that is not lined up correctly, and suddenly gravity starts taking over. The track slips, the weight shifts, and for a second, the whole machine looks like it is ready to fall off the edge. When 20 tons of steel are leaning the wrong way, there is no time for panic. The only thing that saves the job is careful correction and steady control. This is why loading heavy machinery is never as simple as it looks. Next, we go old school with a Caterpillar D9G, and this is exactly the kind of machine that built its reputation without screens, sensors, or modern comfort. No touchscreen, no GPS, no electronic assistance, just levers, smoke, diesel torque, and an operator who knows the machine by feel. Every movement tells you he has spent years around heavy equipment. The engine coughs, the tracks bite, and the dozer keeps working like it never needed anything fancy in the first place. Old steel still has a voice, and this one speaks in pure power. Then the scale jumps massively with the Hitachi EX8000, one of the first true giants to arrive in Australia's nickel mines. Weighing more than 1.88 million pounds, this machine does not just dig rock, it dominates the pit. Every bucket movement feels slow, controlled, and enormous, like the ground itself is being peeled away by a mechanical titan. This is the point where mining equipment stops looking like machinery and starts looking like infrastructure with tracks. The CAT 988G brings a different kind of precision. Scoop after scoop, it turns a chaotic pile of material into organized production. In just 8 loads, 250,000 pounds of material is moved out of the way. That kind of output is not only about bucket size, it is about rhythm. The operator knows when to lift, when to turn, when to dump, and how to keep the cycle moving without wasted motion. In industrial work, that rhythm is money. Then we see a Caterpillar D82U that sat idle for more than 2 years and still came back to life like it had only been resting overnight. That straight-8 diesel does not just start at growls awake with the kind of mechanical confidence modern machines rarely have. A few cranks, oil starts moving, smoke rolls out, and suddenly the old cat is alive again. These machines were never built for comfort. They were built to outlast hard work, bad weather, and sometimes even the people who operated them. Moving the Tesmec 1675 is not transport. It is a full logistics operation. A 160-ton trench-cutting machine riding on a 7-axle Goldhofer trailer demands serious planning before it ever touches the road. Every axle has to carry its share, every turn has to be checked, and every bump becomes a calculation. When equipment this heavy moves, the entire route becomes part of the job. This is industrial transport at the level where mistakes are measured in tons. Then the RK5000 appears like a relic from another age. Built in 1983, weighing around 6,200 tons, and carrying enough oil to sound absurd on paper, this machine still works like a Cold War monument made of steel. It takes a crew to control it, and the machine stretches longer than a football field. It does not just dig, it drags history across the pit one bucket at a time. Industrial machines like this do not feel disposable, they feel permanent. The Latorno L1850 shows another version of mining power. With a 100,000-pound payload and a 3.3 cubic yard bucket, it is built to center-load massive haul trucks carrying hundreds of tons. Deep in Hunter Valley, this loader is not just moving dirt, it is feeding an entire coal operation. Every pass reshapes the terrain and keeps production flowing. Big machines like this are not impressive because they are large. They are impressive because they make massive work look routine. Then comes the Kaiser S2 Spider, a machine built for terrain where normal excavators would simply give up. On slopes that look almost impossible, it spreads its mechanical legs, balances itself, and keeps digging. In disaster zones, unstable ground, and steep work areas, this is not just an excavator. It is a first response tool with steel limbs and hydraulic confidence. It walks where wheels and tracks cannot. The next dozer slides backward down a pipeline slope with shocking smoothness. Without the dust, you might think it is gliding. No stumble, no uncontrolled slide, no panic. Just tracks holding their line as the machine rides the grade with confidence. That kind of downhill control only looks easy because the operator knows exactly what the ground and machine are doing. Then we move under a hospital, where the Menzie Muck crew works in thick mud with concrete overhead and almost no margin for error. Custom buckets, extreme hydraulics, tight clearance, and unstable ground make every movement critical. Excavating in a place like this is not about brute force. It is about controlled precision in a space that gives you no forgiveness. These machines are built for chaos, but the operators make the chaos look manageable. Then ice reminds everyone who is really in control. A 50-ton machine can have all the horsepower in the world, but without grip, it becomes a sliding mass of steel. No chains, no traction, no command over the surface. Just weight moving where the ice allows it. That is the brutal truth of winter work. Power means nothing if the machine cannot bite into the ground. The Hitachi EX5500 and EH4500AC appear next as a true mining pair. The excavator lifts over 30 cubic meters in a single pass, while the haul truck waits to take the load and move it out of the pit. This is not random movement, it is a production system. Dig, swing, load, haul, repeat. Raw force meets industrial timing, and the entire mine depends on that rhythm staying alive. Then the scene turns almost unreal. A 22-ton Liebherr L566 hangs from a cable system high above mountain terrain, moving through the air like a machine from a sci-fi film. When roads cannot be built and terrain refuses access, engineers create another solution. At that point, gravity becomes part of the transport plan, not just an obstacle. It is risky, strange, and undeniably impressive. After that, we see a frozen tractor recovery that took 10 brutal days in sub-zero conditions. No luxury equipment, no easy access. Just workers fighting ice, snow, and frozen ground until the machine finally comes free. That is the kind of job where persistence matters more than speed. Russian winter recoveries are not just mechanical work. They are endurance tests. Then the T-130 dives nose first into a frozen swamp like it has nothing to lose. No snorkel, no raised intake, no clean crossing. Just old steel pushing through ice and water while everyone hopes the wrong splash does not kill the electrics. The machine cracks through the frozen surface and keeps crawling. For equipment that old, that is either madness or proof of how tough it was built. Then the recovery line starts leaning, and the entire situation becomes a test of straps, tension, and nerve. One tilt too far, and everything could shift the wrong way. Heavy recovery work always looks simple until the load starts moving. Then every chain, strap, anchor point, and operator decision suddenly matters. The barge scene shows another side of industrial logistics. This is not just a boat, it is a lifeline for mining operations in remote regions. Hauling multiple 60-ton trucks across muddy rivers and island routes takes planning, balance, and serious horsepower. LCT ships like this keep coal and mining operations alive, where roads are unreliable or non-existent. The crews make it look routine, but nothing about it is easy. Then we see 10.7 tons of machinery scaling a sheer cliff with surprising control. Every movement is a fight against slope, gravity, and balance. This is not just a machine climbing terrain. It is engineering pushed into an environment where one mistake could end the whole operation. That kind of work demands both courage and exact control. Finally, the John Deere 7530 pulls a stuck tractor out of knee-deep mud in just minutes. With the Case IH holding steady and the trailer arm pulling at the right angle, the recovery comes together cleanly. That is not luck. That is torque, anchoring, setup, and smart machine use working as one system. In deep mud, power matters, but the pull angle matters just as much. That is industrial timber overturned bulldozers, mining giants, frozen recoveries, cliffside machines, barge transport, old-school diesel power, and operators pushing heavy equipment through conditions most machines would never survive. Subscribe for more extreme industrial machinery, recovery operations, mining equipment, and real heavy steel working under pressure. Drop a comment with the toughest machine from today's episode, and stay with us for the next operation where power, terrain, and risk collide.